Now we're going to look at a live demonstration of the dashboard. So what all these policies have been put into to make it practical and to make it usable for local policymakers. And to do that, we have Becky Arnold. Becky is from the Netherlands Interdisciplinary Demographic Institute and has a PhD in astrophysics from the University of Sheffield. Becky has also worked for the UK Health Security Agency, constructing a model of how different testing strategies mitigate the spread of COVID-19 in vulnerable settings. She is much of the brain behind the structure of the dashboard, making sure the science becomes as accurate and user-friendly as possible. And that's what she's going to show us now. Over to you, Becky. Oh, you're muted, Becky.
Sorry, rookie mistake.
No worries, no worries.
Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you very much for that. And yes, I'll be very pleased to demonstrate the dashboard that we've constructed to you all today. So this is the homepage, and you can see over here, we've got a bit of information about what the dashboard is and how it works. And then over here, we've got these three portals. So the first portal is really about your region. So within it, you select what is your region, and we return our policy suggestions based on all the research we have done that we think are applicable to your region. We also return information on your region's development status and your region's development history. Along with that, we also give information on your region's migration and population trends, both in the past, but also we give projections for the future as well. So that's the first portal. The second two portals kind of zoom out. They look at the European scale. So the second portal is about regional development at the European scale. So having learned about your region's development status in portal one, you can then see how that fits into the wider context here. And for portal three, we look at migration and population trends at European scale, again, to help you understand how your region fits into that. And also within this portal, we have, stories and quotes and interviews from migrants themselves to help give a more nuanced perspective that isn't just data. So with that, I will go and sort of demonstrate portal one to you first. And if you click on that, the first thing that you will see is a map. And you need to select your region, which you can do by the drop downs by selecting your country and your region, or you can click on the map and you can zoom in and move around and so on as well and say, this is my region. And if you do that, the first tab is policy solutions. So first up, the very first thing you see is what we think the policies that are applicable to your region are. Now, the way we do that determination is, as we've done our research on regional development and on migration and population trends, we have formed regions into types. So when we've gone out and looked for policies, if we see a policy has been applied in a region with the same type as yours in terms of development and the migration and population trends, we go, okay, this is a similar region to you, therefore we think this policy may be applicable to you, may be around some of the same challenges that you yourself are facing. So after you select your region, you've got the list of policies that we think are applicable to you. And you can sort of scroll through those and pick out any that you think are interesting. So looking at the first one, building small and cheap housing opportunities for young people to stop them out migrating. So keeping young people in a region that's facing depopulation, something really, really relevant to this project. And if you look at a policy idea and you want to know more about it, you can click on it and it will give you a longer description. It will tell you the region that that policy was first implemented in, and it will give you a link to the original document or the original website that we drew that policy from. So when you're going through and judging, is this something I want to try in my region? Is it something I would need to adjust? You can go and you can get all the details on the original there. You'll notice up here, there's also a load of different tags about topics. Now, we do this to help policymakers find what they are looking for quicker, because it may be a policymaker already knows that they're going to do something around climate change or environmental protection or energy. So let's say they know they want to do something kind of in that zone. By selecting those tags, the list of policies that is returned changes. So now only policies that have at least one of those tags will be in the list. So this really helps users to focus down. The next thing you can also select if you want to filter by origin. So as Peter went over in his presentation, we have AI summarized policies, but we also have policies that we as researchers have gone out and searched for and summarized ourselves. And these are the verified policies. So if you only want to see verified policies, or if you only want to see AI policies, you could select one or the other. There's also another tag we want to add there, which I'm going to come back to at the very end, because I think it's something that's quite exciting and could make this project even more for policymakers. So also we've got scope here. So this is policy and program. So something we noticed when we were doing that process of going out and looking for policies is we found a lot of documents that weren't one individual policies. They were huge, great big packs. So for example, like the Green Action Plan from 2025 to 2035 for a certain region. And okay, it's not a policy, it's like 50 policies, but those are really, really interesting, have so much in them. We wanted to include them as well. So here, if you only have like the time or the budget that you just do one thing and you only want to filter on individual policies, you can do that. But if you're looking for these big documents that have lots of sort of really integrated ideas in them, you can filter by programs as well. So lots of ways to find what you are looking for here. So scrolling to the top, that was policy solutions. But what if I want to know about my region's regional development? So you can click on there and we see, first of all, it tells us a bit about this region. So it's very rural, it's underdeveloped, and it's stagnant. So it's not improving and it's not really declining. But we go further and we break that down. So here you can see our 3 different dimensions of regional development: the economic, the social, and the living environment, as well as the overall score. So you can see where your region's doing well and where it's doing badly. So for example, here, of all these, it scores lowest in economic, but economic's the only area this particular region is improving in. So if you're a policymaker trying to make a decision on where to focus your efforts, that's helpful information to have. We also discuss a bit about this region's strengths and weaknesses in terms of development. And here we also do a national comparison. So for example, this region scores 5 out of 10 on the economics Europe-wide. But if we look at the national comparison, it's in the bottom 9% of regions in the country for economics. So that kind of helps a policymaker, again, making those judgments that even though this region is improving in economics, that might indicate to me I want to put even more energy and resources in that direction. Something I really want to flag as well is that this dashboard was co-created with our Resilient Regions expert group, which was a group of policymakers that very kindly worked with us and gave us feedback at every stage from development and as it was under construction as well, about how to make this as useful for policymakers as possible. And they were able to improve it in lots and lots of ways. And this is an example. This section was something that we as researchers wouldn't have thought to do, but they would know this would be something that would be very valuable to me. So I hope it will be valuable for any of you that use the dashboard. Down here, we've also got development scores over time, again, so you can see what has changed in your region, which again informs your future decisions, and you can find comparable regions. So if you click on that, you have a bit of information up here and you've got this typology. So this region is underdeveloped and on the whole is improving, mostly due to strong economic improvements in this particular case. And down here, we discuss these regions. We discuss, the sort of challenges they're facing. And really interestingly, we've got a map down here of other regions of this type. And you can zoom in, move around, and you can like hover over as well to get the regions' names. So if you're trying to find regions that might be facing similar challenges to you, so that you can sort of see what they're doing to exchange knowledge, exchange best practice. This is a really useful tool for that, to enable better collaboration between regions. So if I scroll to the top again, I've done policies, I've done regional development. What about this region in terms of migration and population? So we click on that, and the first thing we have is some information about that. So this region is undergoing population decline. It's experiencing natural decline, so more people are dying than are being born. There is net out migration, so people are tending to leave. It's a very old population and it is aging rapidly. So again, useful information for a policymaker to know. And we discuss the strengths and weaknesses of this region in terms of its demographics here. Here, we've also got a net migration projection for the region. So this is currently negative, so it's currently losing people, but it's expected that will change by around 2030. But you can filter that down further. So let's say of particular interest might be a certain demographic, say 20 to 39-year-olds that are, say, highly educated. And if we select that demographic, we can see the expected net migration is going to decrease over time. And again, as a policymaker, that's a problem. That's skills loss. That's potentially jobs loss. So again, knowing about that, knowing that's coming can help a policymaker react. We scroll down here, and lastly on this page, we've got this population pyramid. So you can see how the population is likely to evolve over time. So if you scroll forward, say, what's the population in my region going to be, say, in 2035? Well, it's going to look like that, even more aging, a problem to be dealt with as early as possible, or reacted to it as early as possible. So a lot is sort of stuffed into kind of portal 1 of the dashboard. I think a lot of really interesting information there. So with that, I will move on to portal 2, which is about regional development at the European scale, which Peter's already sort of demonstrated or given sort of a sneak peek of for you here as well. So you can see this map of Europe color-coded by regional development, and you can zoom in, which is particularly useful if your region is small, as many of them are. But you can also select, show me the landscape of living environment development across Europe. And you can see the picture's quite different. And you can also use this slider down here to scroll back in time. Say, show me what the picture was like in 2014. And you can see, again, a lot of shifts. So again, this helps you understand your regions, how it's doing with regards to the trends Europe-wide, as well as just how it's doing independently. So going back to the home page again and going into portal 3. So this is the migration and population trends at the European level. So who is moving and why? So the very first thing we get is this, I think, pretty, but also a little bit difficult to interpret plot, where it basically shows you the population flows between different countries, who's going where. And you can hover over a particular country. So, for example, who's, to and from Germany? What about Belgium? So you can highlight different countries to better understand the kind of structure of those population flows. Down here, you can, select more about what you're actually interested in. So the year, for example, or particular demographics. So let's say you want to know about the movements of 40 to 64-year-olds that are medium educated. Now you'll notice the number of countries drop down there. That's because there's 27 odd countries, and then you've got so many lines going everywhere, the plot becomes, unreadable. So we've got a threshold to stop there being too many lines, but you can change that down here with this slider to include smaller flows and sort of add them back in if that's the information that you are after for your case. I'll now go over here to population projections. So first up, select a country you're particularly interested in. So just from the drop-down menu here. You see the population projection in the future in terms of percentage change. So the population in Austria is likely to increase. And you can select this based on particular demographics you're interested in. So age group, sex, education. So for example, let's say, what do we think will happen to the population of 20 to 39-year-olds? They're going to go down, even though the population as a whole is going to go up because of aging. Down here, we compare what the future of different countries. So we can see which countries are likely to experience the most population increase and the most population decrease. And down here, we've got information about the balance of immigration and emigration, which again, you can filter by particular demographics of interest. And down here, you've got even more information about, the share by different sexes, migration balance, and so on. So again, lots and lots of information crammed in here. Then we've got this tab. So this is the more quantitative, more sort of people-based aspect of research. And I love data. I'm a very, numbers person, but there are things that you can learn just by talking to somebody in a way that would be much, much harder. And if you're a policymaker and you want to attract people to your region, knowing about migrants' experiences and their motivations is really important. But it's really difficult to go out and talk to, 400 different people that have, have experience with migration. So I don't know the exact number because I wasn't doing the interviews, but we have done, essentially that research for you by going out and talking to lots and lots of migrants across Europe, doing these interviews, boiling down the results to get these experiences in one place so that you can access them. So if you look down here, there's a whole bunch of quotes from those interviews. So if you click on one, for example, the Dutch hold higher positions. We just pass by them, see them in the warehouse, but they don't do the same work as we do. very friendly, really friendly. The Dutch are friendly, very friendly. Honestly, I don't really know any Dutch person. Like, not even to say hi or good morning, just the ones I pass at work. I don't know any Dutch people. I don't hang out with Dutch people. I don't talk to Dutch people. So even within this really short quote, what we're getting is a very kind of nuanced, detailed perspective, which I think can be really informative. So, for example, this person, they get on well with the, in this case, native Dutch population, but there is a lack of integration here. And this person, in their experience, they seem to ascribe that to a kind of segregation in not just the type, but also the level of the work that the, in this case, native population versus the migrant population does. So if you want to tackle, say, integration as a problem, that's an interesting and useful experience to know about. And again, we want to make it easy for policymakers to find what they are looking for. So we've got these tags up here. So for example, say you want to know about the perspective of migrants related to, say, housing. You can filter by that and you will only get quotes that are tagged housing, or at least one of their tags is housing. So say we click on this one. We invest all our resources in Poland. I think that is a significant benefit for this region or for Poland in general. Everyone is investing in some kind of property or something similar. And of course, when you are building a house, you have to make all sorts of purchases. We do not buy these things in Germany, we buy them in Poland. So the local market benefits from that. And again, you can further filter down by if you want to know the perspective of the particular, say I want the perspective of women, for example, or you want the perspective of particular types of migrants. So people that have moved permanently, people that are seasonal, people that return to their home country in the end. You can filter by that to get those perspectives. Last tab here, obviously, we have done a lot of work on this dashboard. There's always more to be done, always. So this, a little bit more work needs to be done on this one. This is about the landscape integration. But yeah, more to come on that one for now. So returning back to the home page, there's one more button I want to tell you about, which is kind of the most important button on the dashboard, which I kind of hinted sideways at when I was talking about the policies, because I said we've got these two origins. We've got the AI summarized ones and the verified ones from us as researchers. But we want to add a third one. We want policies from policymakers. So this isn't just researchers talking to policymakers, it's also policymakers talking to policymakers. So there's kind of peer learning. So if you click on this button up here, add your input, what it will do is take you to a Google form where if you have a policy that you've implemented or you've tried to implement or you've seen implemented and you think that's a really cool idea, I think more people should know about this because they might find it useful. You can submit this policy here. So you can say where it was implemented, you can describe the policy, you can say, you know, this is a policy about education and infrastructure, for example. You can add a link to a document about the policy, and we will be looking over these, and we desperately want to include policies from policymakers. So this can be much more of a community hub and allow as much dialogue as possible and be made stronger and stronger, and a great resource, we certainly hope. And we think it already is. So with that, I'm always happy to discuss this. If you've got any questions, if you want to know more, please don't hesitate to contact me. I don't know if Sarah has, or I certainly will put my email in the chat. And with that, I will hand over back to Anne-Cathrine.
Thank you very much for that, Becky. Very thorough walkthrough that we've also been requested. And I think you really highlight how many features this dashboard has, which is a lot. So we hope that they were understandable. And as Becky said, it's being updated still. So we are soft launching it now and opening it up to these inputs. We would love as many as possible.